Thanks for joining us today, Markian, at the Keep Times studio. We here at the Keep Times have a lot of student loans and a lot of student debt, and I can only imagine that for you it's so much worse. But hopefully the outcome will be something manageable when ideally you have a career in dentistry. Can you walk
Yeah.
us a little bit about where you are right now, who you are, and your kind of ordeals and your perils, and why we're talking to you today?
My name is Mark Jan Kolonsky, and I come from Edmonton, Alberta. I did my degree at MacEwan University in Edmonton as well as my undergrad. And from there, I tried to get into the University of Alberta. And it wasn't until I first tried to apply at the University of Alberta that I kind of started to know that there was some kind of problem with the system or it's challenges, like big obstacles to get into dental schools, at least in Alberta or even Canada. That's for a fact because the first year I applied to University of Alberta, UBC, and Western.
Why do you think so many people are rejected for these applications? Alberta itself, they only have the 26 seats that are for residents, and
Yeah.
from what I can recall, your repertoire for joining exceeded what was required by quite a margin.
And that's just the thing. And I felt like, say, even UBC, I was qualified enough, but it was kind of discouraging because literally 2 days later, I got a denied email saying that sorry, based on X, Y, and Z, you're not qualified enough for the entrance to the EDS program at UBC. I'm like, well, that's kind of discouraging. And then Western Ontario, I was short by zero point zero 0.01 of a GPA just to get the interview. I'm like, are you? That was a real shock. And then, yeah, U of A, yeah, I got an interview and this and that. And okay, I was like, well, okay, this is my shot. This is my province, right? So that's the one I was really hoping for. And I got the interview, and my interview score was good, but wasn't quite amazing. That was the first time I ever did that kind of style. They call it MMI interview, where they kind of just ask you ethical questions and you have a few minutes to think about it and kind of ponder all the scenario, and you just reply and they just listen, right?
And
So it's
correct me if
yeah,
I'm wrong, but you took this the MMI interview 3 times, right? You've applied for the program
yeah,
multiple times.
yeah. So yeah, I did apply to UVA 3 times. So after that, like first year, um, and it's like getting denied from UBC and Western right away. I'm like, there's really no hope to get into these schools outside of my own province. And it wasn't until then I realized that each province does prioritize their own residents pretty much.
Do you feel, since the interview is weighted for 25% of the the total entrance to dental school, do you feel it's fair that this multiple interview process is one of the gatekeeping events that are keeping people out of the school system?
I actually feel like the interview is one of the most important parts to understand a person because it shows, um, like, see, I didn't do bad my first time at all. And I did really well the second time because I really prepared for it. Like, I knew what to expect and how to kind of go about it. And actually, I think the essence of the interview is just to get to know, can you communicate? And I think as a medical professional, that is very important because number one, are you actually listening to your patient, right? Do you understand the problem? And the other thing is, can you articulate in an effective way how to resolve it with your patient understanding without using all science jargon?
So now that you have uprooted from Edmonton and are have decided to study abroad in Sydney, can you tell me a little bit about the financial strain that that's having on you?
It's been quite a challenge financially to go abroad. See, the thing is, if I were to have gone to a Canadian institution, I could have walked into any financial institution and got a line of credit for school, no problem. I wouldn't need a co-signer because I'm already in Canada. But to go abroad, I would need a co-signer, and that makes sense because they need to secure their financial interest. But obviously, when you go out of country, and this is for every institution in the world, they always charge more for international students. So for my tuition each year is, over $80,000. So like 4 years, 80,000 times four. And Sydney is a pretty expensive city to live in. So, you tack on rent. And my first year, my rent was $2,000 a month. And obviously like food, utilities. And on top of that too, you gotta buy yourself your dental tools. And so, you got articulators, you got your cleaning supplies, you have to work in the first couple of years, you work on mannequins. So you have to buy like plastic teeth to work on and, do prep cavities and stuff like that. And that all adds up. And that was, not cheap at the end of the day.
What differs between Australian dental school and Canadian dental school?
I would say the biggest, like, you mean obstacles or just the biggest difference I kind of noticed?
Well, I would say the biggest obstacle would probably be the financial burden that this is putting on yourself. But has there been anything else that has been kind of maybe through the dental industry itself that needs fixing to help what you're doing and to help other people kind of chase their dreams of being a dentist?
Based on how the system is set up in Canada, I just find it's very difficult to gain admissions, even if you're more than enough qualified, which is forcing a lot of people in Canada to go study abroad.
Do you think dentistry is something you can bet on for the future as an education path with tuitions being at an all-time high, with the struggles that students like you are going through? Do you think it's worth it for the average med student to pursue dentistry? Do you think it'd be the same with any other trade in the medical profession?
I think with things going the way they are, it's going to be much more challenging going into the future because the number one obstacle I think for an average student is going to get admissions. That's the number one. And then the second thing is, okay, say if you didn't get admission to Canada and you want to go to study in Australia or even the United States or say somewhere in Europe or whichever, the number one challenge in that sense will be a financial aspect. And it wouldn't be trying to get financing from the government. It would just be trying to get financing from an institution. And if you have no one to co-sign for you, it's pretty much impossible. They would just not want to give you a loan.
Getting your degree abroad, once you're a dentist, are you going to be bringing your trade back to Edmonton and back to Canada, or are you happy in Sydney now? Are you happy that you're there? And do you think since they helped you get your degree, you're gonna help them fix their teeth?
I would love to stay in Sydney. It's nice not having to worry about shoveling snow. But Edmonton is home, and that's where family and friends are, and that was always the ultimate end goal to come back home.
Awesome. Well, Markian, thanks for talking to us about your dental journey. The best wishes for the tail end of your degree, and I'll be happy to point our Keep Time listeners to your dental office to fix their crust punk beer drinking, gross looking smiles and pretty them back up again. But is there anything? Is there any last parting marks that you'd like to tell our audience about your journey through dental school?
I think the biggest thing in hindsight was making sure that I was completely funded for the entire 4 years going ahead, and that was where my problem was even when I got my loan, I was kind of misinformed that I could get extended, and maybe that was maybe due to partially that the agent that helped me wasn't familiar or wasn't experienced in international student loans. So I would say number one is just making sure all your bases are covered financially, because once you're abroad, there's almost no looking back in that sense, or it's really challenging to get financing that way.
Thank you for taking some time out of your day to talk to us, and I hope the rest of your dental journey goes is all smiles from here.
Well, thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Markian.